All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Strength Classroom. I'm always listening to subscriber questions. Someone asked, how would you increase your overhead press strength? And in this video, that's what the hell I'm gonna lay out. As everyone knows, if you're new to the channel, you might not know, but I am a big believer, a big programmer. My clients get it, I get it. Conjugate method. No matter what the goal is, you're going to pretty much get something conjugate related out of me. So I'm going to break this up into three phases. It's going to be max effort exercises or your heavier exercises, some accessories, some hypertrophy stuff, and then some antagonistic stuff. So I'll break that down on exercises that I think will give you a bigger overhead press based on my experience with myself and others that I've coached. So let's look at the max effort exercises. First of all, it's with no-brainer, the standing overhead press must be in your rotation of exercises. This is pretty much going to be your tester. Now, when you're going for a 1 rep max, that is testing. When you're going for a 3 rep max, maybe a heavy 5 rep max, those can be used to build strength. Now, depending on your sticking point, what muscles need to be emphasized, I'm assuming you want an overhead press with a 45-pound barbell. But depending on what needs work, like I just said, you can use a Swiss bar to overhead press with, you can use bands, you can use chains. Those are some variations for that exercise. Now, what does the overhead press do? It builds your overall vertical pressing strength, and it's gonna target the shoulders and the triceps. A little bit of the upper pec, a tiny bit, but not a major amount. Then another exercise that I recommend is the push press. Now, what are going to be some benefits of the push press? This can help you overcome that, let's say, chin to nose area to get the bar overhead, because you're kind of bypassing the hardest part, which is going to be getting it started. And you're going to just basically shove yourself right into the second half of the movement. Now, it's very important that you're not turning this into a push jerk, which is a useful exercise, but it's not really going to build pressing strength. So what you want to do is basically just get the minimal amount of push that you need to get the bar off your clavicles and shoulder, and then press the rest of the way. How is this going to benefit your overhead pressing strength? It is going to build pressing power by involving the whole body and allowing you to lift just a little bit more than your strict press max. Third exercise is going to be the pin press. Now, depending on your access to equipment, your wants, your needs, you can either do these seated or standing. And depending on what your sticking point is where you are going to set the pins. I like setting it just at about chin level or mid-throat, somewhere around there. But someone that has a higher sticking point can put it at their nose. And honestly, I've seen people even put it like at their eyebrow and forehead level. It all depends on what your sticking point is. Now, what is this exercise going to accomplish? It's going to help you build specific sticking point strength. So another benefit of this is also going to be that it's dead stop. You have no rebound, you have no stretch reflex, you have no stored energy. You're basically just moving the weight from a complete dead stop. And this will build just brutal pressing strength overhead. I prefer to do these seated over standing, but I've seen many people on YouTube, Alec Onkiri comes to mind right away, of doing standing dead stop presses. So either one is up to you. I suggest that if you're doing a lot of standing work with other exercises, such as push presses and just standard overhead presses, to do these seated instead, but it's completely up to you. So here are some good assistance exercises that will carry over to your overhead press. You have the dips. Now, why are the dips a good exercise that can carry over some loose amount of strength to your overhead press? It's going to strengthen your triceps and your shoulders, especially the lockout of the press. So you could perform these with body weight or with added weight. And it's really gonna help with shoulder stability and shoulder flexibility. Those are the two things that I feel like will carry over to the overhead press. Anywhere from 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps, or you can even go higher. How you program them is completely up to you. You can use these as a late workout finisher, or you can do these like right after your vertical pressing. I always find vertical pressing followed up by dips is a really good combination for the upper body in general. I learned this all the way back when I was doing Jim Wendler's 5-3-1, where dips would be my main assistance exercise on the overhead press day in my presses. And what I really like about this is it's at a different angle. So it's not vertical, it's not horizontal, it's somewhere in between. And for people that don't have shoulder flexibility, this can be really good. But it's also just a great standard exercise. Too many people go really, really light with landmine presses, and I think that's a big mistake. You can load up 3, maybe 4 plates if you're an absolute monster, and still do overhead press exercises, and still do landmine press exercises. It's really, really good for just increasing your core stability. It reduces the strain on the lower back without necessarily having to do a seated exercise, because what people don't understand, even when you're doing a seated exercise, you are getting a lot of spinal compression. So if your lower back bothers you, sometimes sitting down is not exactly the best solution. So now let's get into some exercises that, yeah, they're assistant exercises, but they're a little bit more hypertrophy based. You don't see many people go super heavy on these, maybe heavy, but I wouldn't say super heavy, like in the 3 to 5 rep range, unless it's by accident. So the first one is gonna be the seated dumbbell shoulder press. This should be no stranger to anyone. What you're gonna do is sit on a bench with 2 dumbbells, press them overhead, and go from there. The benefits of this is you can have your arms out to the side, which hits the shoulders a little bit more, and you're not restricted by the barbell, because you can't have the barbell go through your neck, obviously. But what you could do about these, what's unique is you can press one arm at a time. You could do like a seesaw motion. You can press both arms. And even if you want to work unilateral stuff, is you can do one arm, do all the reps with there, and then do the other arm. Which brings me to my next point. You're gonna do the exact same thing, but standing. You can do them with 2 arms, or you could do them with 1 arm, or you can do the exact same thing I said, 1 arm, 1 arm, 1 arm, 1 arm. I call it a seesaw press. If it has an actual name, whatever, as long as you know what I'm talking about. Then with this exact same variation, you could go dumbbell or kettlebell. They have slightly different feels, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same exercise. And then to cap out your hypertrophy for your shoulders, you're gonna do things like lateral raises, upright rows, rear delts. These are not gonna be things that are gonna be magic for your overhead press, because you're not working on technique and putting the bar over your head even a little bit, but it's definitely going to strengthen up those muscles without constantly having to go through that motion, which actually goes a long way in the long run, I guess. So rear delts balance out your shoulders. The side delts just give a little bit more stimulus, and the side delts are all responsible for keeping that weight locked out overhead. And the upright rows are gonna help develop your traps to make a more stable overhead position. And then you can't forget about Lou raises. So Lou raises or lateral raises, you do whichever one you want. Now, another exercise that a lot of people don't think about, people think of only with shoulders when it comes to the overhead press. They very, very rarely think about the triceps. So you definitely want to be doing some overhead tricep work, whether it's bands, cables, dumbbells, kettlebells, easy bar curl overhead. You definitely want to be doing something like that. All these exercises that I just listed in the accessory portion, 3 to 5 sets, 8 to 12 reps. They don't need to be 3 to 5 sets to failure, but you just want to make sure you're getting quality sets that are at least 2 to 3 reps away from failure. Now, here is something people don't think about enough. They always think about the muscles that are doing the work and not the muscles that are supporting them. So you always want to make sure you're doing a sufficient amount of pulling to raise your pushing strength. So for example, pull-ups and chin-ups. That was basically my overhead press day for a couple of years. It was overhead press, then dips, then pull-ups. It's a great workout. It's no fluff, nothing special, just very, very, very focused. So depending on your weakness, depending on what parts of your back you want to hit, you can go neutral grip, underhand grip, overhand grip. They're all going to hit your back in a way, but they're just going to stress the back in different intensities along the back. Your wide grip is going to hit your mid back. Your underhand, I find that hits more lats. Neutral grip is probably an overall builder for the back. So it's completely up to you on where you feel your back needs work. Then there's barbell rows. Barbell rows are going to be a complete back builder, lats, mid back, a little bit of the upper back as well. Some traps depending on the angle that you're pulling at. Face pulls are going to be another great exercise to build up your overhead press. They're like rear delt flies, except you get some external rotation, so it builds up some flexibility and shoulder stability in your shoulder joint. T-bar rows, lat pull downs. I don't need to get too specific with the back stuff. Just make sure you're doing at least, some people say to do double the amount of pulling that you're doing compared to pushing. I don't know if you need to go that far or you're not going to make any gains. However, I don't think you can have enough pulling in your routine. Because overall, why is back exercises and just pulling in general crucial for the overhead press? You have to ask yourself that the upper back muscles, lats, traps, rear delts, play a key role in overhead pressing. Strong back is a stable foundation for pressing. It's going to give you improved scapular control, promote stability in the shoulder, enhance your posture, and support your lockout strength, believe it or not. So incorporating all these exercises in a rotation, you don't have to include all 20 exercises I said, but pick some from each category, maximize them, use as much weight as you can, just pump up your back, pump up your shoulders, pump up your triceps, move heavy amounts of weight overhead, progress, add reps, add sets, add weight, and you will be on the road to a stronger overhead press. If you like this video, ladies and gentlemen, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And as always, have yourself a great day.